Good morning. I'd like to welcome you all to the February 4th Lincoln County Board of Commissioners meeting. Mr. Lip, can you let the audience know what's going on with the audio?
Anybody participating in Zoom can see and hear. For some reason, these monitors just not in my laptop, so this way.
All right, thank you. At this time, I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Miller?
Present.
Commissioner Walter Chuck, present. We have a quorum. We have no recommendations or proclamations. I'll take a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I have an item I did want to highlight. Commissioner Chuck?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, can we go to item G2? This is a contract IT for Windows Enterprise, and it appears that the date has expired for the quote on January 30th. It's a pretty substantial quote here, currently at $39,000. I would recommend we direct staff to request an update on this quote before we record it.
Council?
The signed agreement the quote will remain the same. That's why it's being placed on for execution.
Okay.
It will remain the same?
It will remain the same.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's adopt the consent calendar then as provided. I will move that we adopt the consent calendar. Thank you.
I will second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we have Lincoln County Economic Development Grant Program. Paul Skidema from EDALC, please come up.
Morning.
See you this morning. And this is one of my favorite times of the year to get to share with you the recommendations for funding for the Community and Economic Development Grant Program, funded by Lincoln County. Our board of directors reviews and scores the grants. Just so you kind of know the process, we've been managing.
One second. Can people please silence their phones?
Trying to make sure somebody. I thought it looked like a little. It must have went in there.
Thank you, Paul. Go ahead.
Okay. Like that. Okay. So EDALC has been administering in partnership with the county this grant program for 15 years, maybe even longer, but that's as far as our records go back and probably as far as we can all remember. The general way it works is our staff works with county staff to basically put together the application packets, design the application itself. We work as advocates for the applicants. We actually ran on November 12th a grant workshop. Every year we want to run a grant workshop to help applicants do their best applications. We work with county staff on helping to vet the eligibility of the applications, and a special thanks to Ken Lip for helping us get that up on the site and marketing. And then our board of directors receives the applications and works through independently scoring when we come together to discuss that. Our staff has no say or input in the scoring other than finagling the spreadsheet. And I just want to say that our board takes this very seriously. It's a responsibility that they don't take lightly. This year saw the first increase in the pool in a couple of years. It went from $130,000 to $185,000. That's broken into two different grant pools: the standard grant pools, which can be up to $15,000. There was
Oh, sorry, I just realized I don't think your mic is on.
wow. Anything else that I screwed up? Okay, so we've got the standard grant pool for the smaller scale projects. That's normally what's been going on since this program has been in place. For the last 4 years, there have been impact grants, which are larger single projects, and this year were the ability to award 2 impact grants at $50,000 each. So the standard pool's at $85,000. The impact pool is at $100,000. This year we had 28 total grant applicants. That is by far a record. On one hand, you could go, wow, this means that we're doing this really well in marketing. I think it speaks more to the need in the county for all of the things that these great organizations want to achieve. And it was, the requests came in at over $515,000 of requested funds. So this was the most competitive. We probably had one of our longest grant meetings. So I wanted to kind of go over our recommendations, or the board of directors recommendations. You have them in your packet. For the standard grants, our board is recommending funding, 7 of those grants. The Oregon Coast Aquarium, the Oregon Coast Community College Foundation, City of Lincoln City, the Agape Respite Center, Discover Your Northwest, which is the fiscal agent for Cape Perpetua Collaborative, the Lincoln City Sunday Market, and the Central Coast Corral, which is doing business as Coastal Voices. Do you want me to kind of go in a little bit on what each of those are to remind you of what those grants are, or should I just kind of blast forward?
I would like you to.
Just a quick summary, Paul.
Okay, cool. And the other thing is these grant applications application was developed in the county's form center. So all the applications live on the county's website. So if ever you want to see any of the ones that were applicants, they're there.
Yeah. And Paul, excuse me, could you just briefly, before you go into that though, talk about that transition to creating those impact grants and kind of the history there, so people understand that we didn't have this before, but it's been a good innovation, and what was driving that?
Yeah, and generally what happens is after the grant cycle and the grants are awarded, our staff and team take our board's recommendations and meets with county commissioners and county staff to kind of talk through how can we improve this program. So always trying to make it better. And like this year is going to be no different. We're going to have some ideas going forward. One of the things that came out of some of those discussions was, wow, $15,000 is great, but you can't really make that much of an impact. And these started off a little bit before the county had the funding for the child care accelerator. And there's always been that need for housing. So initially those impact grants were specifically focused in areas of broadband, child care, or housing. Over the couple years, since there was additional child care money, that dropped off as you could still apply, but it wasn't like a bonus thing. This year, they were open to any kind of large-scale impact project. And the whole idea with that is, can one grant make an impact over that 1 year that has a lasting impact? It's less about sustaining year over year and doing something big. Relatively big, because if you're talking broadband, 50,000 is not much.
Right. Yeah, thanks for that context, because I think we wanted to make sure to have more momentum for certain applicants and projects, and I think this has done that.
Yeah. And the other thing to kind of point out is a thing that sort of evolved over the last couple of years is there are little like point bumps in the scoring. Like if you attend the grant workshop, you get a small bump. If your project entirely serves the unincorporated area of Lincoln County, you get a bump. Yeah. If you serve both unincorporated and incorporated, you get a lesser bump. So it's basically trying to work together to figure out what the priorities of the county are and how the scoring and the application system can help kind of direct and incentivize those.
Yeah. And Paul, could you just remind everyone where this funding is coming from too? I think people need that context.
The funding, I think historically came both from transient lodging tax dollars coming from units, short-term rentals in the unincorporated areas of the county, and also video game income coming into the county. I'm not sure if the video game income is still part of that economic development thing. I'm guessing it is. We kind of don't see where the sausage is made, but it is a very, I think it's a wonderful use of local funds coming in, serving local projects and local organizations.
Yeah, not all counties choose to do it this way, so I think that's kudos to us. So thank you.
Woo. Okay, going over the standard awards, the aquarium was to help support the temporary, but it's over a year Amazon exhibit that they're going to be bringing in. That was selected. There's a lot of criteria: budget, number of partners. That had some maximum fund leverage, and that drives visitors and people here. The Oregon Coast Community College Foundation was to create a youth career exploration program of 2 parts of a healthcare career cruise over the summer of 2026 and continuing support of the youth entrepreneurship program. The city of Lincoln City was to continue some of their work through an EPA brownfield grant to do phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site assessments, mostly on private lands that are looking to be redeveloped within the city there. The Agape grant was a really cool workforce reentry and stability project to help housing unsure and unhoused adults reenter the workforce. They estimate this will serve about 20 individuals in the county. The Cape Perpetual Collaborative is to help with their growing Land and Sea Symposium and Collaborative Partners meeting. This is for the early 2027, aligning resources and launching partnerships all along the Central Coast. The Lincoln City Sunday Market is for a market growth program. They've got about 30 plus vendors right now, and they're trying to grow awareness and bring more vendors in there because most of those are small businesses. About 60% of those vendors are Lincoln County owned businesses. Coastal Voices was to further expand their countywide programming, kind of based off of some of the impact from the Arts and Economic Prosperity Study that was recently done. They're doing a youth internship program and a family movie sing-along program, which is pretty cool. Don't let me do that. If you look at the recommended amounts, there were 2 grants, the City of Lincoln City and the Coastal Voices, that our board did not recommend the full amount. The reason being they wanted to get as many grants funded, and both of those were for kind of modular things. You know, sometimes if you don't get a $15,000 grant, you can't, and they give you 10, you can't do anything. Both of Lincoln City and Coastal Voices will still be able to do impactful things, just, not as many environmental impact studies and things like that. But that was the rationale there. Moving on to the impact grants, the 2 recommendations were for Northwest Coastal Housing and for Habitat for Humanity. Northwest Coastal Housing, this is in support of their Olala Meadows housing development in Toledo, an 11.4 million 30-unit affordable housing complex. Due to some challenges, they have to do a roof redesign of what's going on there, and also they are short of funds to do a moisture barrier system underneath the siding. So that's what those funds are for. The Habitat for Humanity received land from the Samaritan North Lincoln Hospital, and they're going to build funding dependent 9 to 14 affordable workforce homes on that land, either single family homes or townhomes. And it's going to be income qualified, so 80% of AMI. Where they're targeting first for the home buyers is income qualified Samaritan Health employees who work up in Lincoln City, and also wildfire survivors. Mm-hmm. And then if those needs are met, those can be opened up. The other cool thing about that is those houses are going to be designed using some of the new mass timber products that are being developed that are coming out of that EDA Build Back Better grant and things that are going on in Philomath and Portland, and to create those new products. So that's pretty cool. So that is the recommendations as it stands from the EDALC Board of Directors. Once again, thank you so much for the opportunity to administer this program. It's very rewarding. and sometimes heartbreaking to say no, but like I said, our board takes this very seriously, and they come to you saying that they feel this is the best use of these funds for this year. And I guess I would entertain any questions.
You have any questions for Paul?
Yeah, a few questions and observations. We're seeing this in action today. Previously, this has been brought to us under discussion, and that's very helpful for the board and the community to see the entire breadth and depth of applications. Mr. Skidema, I presume you've interfaced with staff, iteratively in this process along the way. This is the first time I have seen any of these applications. So I'd certainly like to see, everybody that applied. I think when we see that, we can see that need. Now, the work that you do and that the board does, I trust very much, but I certainly would love the opportunity before we make a final decision to take a look at the others who applied. And I think that'll tell us quite a bit. And with that, Paul, what do you think is driving this increase in applications? I mean, what's your feel out there that brought so many more in? Because, I mean, what you said is a significantly uptick in the applicants this year. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
And I think it's honestly the unsurety of where future funding is going to come from, the cut in federal programs and grant funds. Some of those cuts are gone and will never, ever come back.
Yeah.
And there's a real shift statewide, and it kind of terrifies me of a lot of nonprofits having to turn towards philanthropic sources and grant sources that aren't federally based. And certain organizations like an Oregon Community Foundation, Ford Family Foundation, Roundhouse Foundation are being inundated by requests for far more than they can fulfill. I think this is just endemic of that.
Yeah. Well, I would certainly love for us to, bring this back next week again for action. Let's include in the packet that historical information. The commission in the past has made tweaks and adjustments. I'm generally encouraged by what I'm seeing here, but I'd certainly like to see what others have submitted and just make sure to have a snapshot on that. And then I think we're telling a story here to folks by looking at the need that's out there. And I think that tells us a story about what's happening right now. And I think it would be all good for us to take a look at that, see what that need is out there. That is my direction for the moment. Commissioner Chuck, what are you thinking?
Well, I'd just like to thank Paul and his staff for looking at all those applications. And thank you for your weekly updates where you kept us apprised on all those things. Please.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons that we do this with the transit lodging tax, is to make sure that we do get this money out to the communities. And I really look forward to moving forward with this program. I know that we are currently in the legislature looking towards increasing those amounts that will go to our local entities that are gathering these taxes. We really need that in our community, as you can see by the number of applicants. I really appreciate that you were so housing focused with those impact grants. And going forward, those impact grants have had quite an effect. Central Coast Food Web was a benefactor of at least a couple of those. And so I can see the need for those, but also see the good that has already been done. Can you elaborate a little bit more that if this were to be increased, or where you could see us better focusing? I know Commissioner Jacobson did put some guidelines on there for addressing areas that do not collect transit lodging tax, whether that's the city of Siletz, Toledo, and the unincorporated areas.
And I think like one of the things that we can have during discussions as we kind of prepare for the next round is, where are those needs that you've seen over the last years of doing, your work as commissioners, and are there ways that we can incentivize those? I think the other thing that is a challenging opportunity, and we haven't solved it yet, but I think we can, is these grants are the programs set up for nonprofits or municipalities to apply to, which I think makes sense. But one of the challenges when you're looking at something that's a program that is focused on economic development first, community development second, really economic development is increasing the net income in the county. It's increasing the tax base. It's increasing the jobs. Sometimes nonprofits are not the best entities to basically tip that needle. Some of them, like the Agape, getting folks who are challenged in the workforce into the workforce with support, absolutely. But the grant does allow for public-private partnerships for a private for-profit entity to partner with a nonprofit and create a co-application with the nonprofit as the fiscal entity. We haven't seen any of those in the last 6 years that I've helped administer this program. I think there's some awareness building and maybe some training to see how we can maybe make that a little bit more attractive or understandable by the business community. And sometimes nonprofits are not experienced in those public-private partnerships. So I think there's an opportunity there to grow the program and grow the impact. And as far as, could the program use more funds? Well, it always, I mean, right here, we had $515,000 of requests. And all of them are worthy. Are some of them as valid of a grant application? No. And you can kind of see it's very clear. There's a top tier, there's a middle tier, there's a bottom tier as far as budget knowledge, partnership, work being done, this being something that was thought of for a while and not like, oh, there's a grant, I'm going to think of a project. That comes through pretty clearly in the grant process.
And part of the process is you do hold the workshop, and that does help these people do this, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we had maybe like 32 attendees for this workshop. And Sarah Budding, our Rural Economic Research and Engagement Manager, and I run those workshops. They're done virtually because it allows the maximum number of people. We also allow folks who can't make the workshop. We record it on video. We sneak in there some sneaky, crazy words. And then if someone watches it offline, they have to answer a questionnaire that shows that they actually watched it. And then they get half the bump points.
And can you tell me what has been the past timeline for getting these grants approved? Because we were a little bit late getting the number to you, and then also new commissioner, and then also we did have Tim Johnson leaving, and also new finance director. So what has been the past timeline on this?
In a perfect world, we're having this conversation in February, so we're right on time. And then in like March, though, usually those contracts go out. We would like to start the process earlier, because then you could build awareness. And so, as soon in the fiscal year as we can understand what the budget is for the upcoming year, we can start putting together the marketing materials. We can get the application ready so the program could open up in early August rather than the end of September. And I think the more time you have for that, the more we can kind of do things like try to see if we can get some interest on public-private partnerships and those kind of applications and things.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Personally, I would like to keep with the normal timeline. So if you wish to make a motion to accept these grants, I would take that motion.
Well, first, Commissioner Chuck, just to kind of bring me back into the loop here. I mean, have you had a chance to have conversations with Paul and the board? I mean, this is the first time I'm being brought into the loop here.
Yes, I do attend the EDALC meetings
Okay.
as part of my duties.
How frequently are those being attended by you, and when do they occur?
Paul?
Yeah, our meetings are the first Thursday of every month. Most of them are virtual. Every quarter we do one in person. Usually the I guess I would say the precedent, I'm not sure if it's like written down in policy, is the Lincoln County Commissioner, who is ex officio on our board, which is Walter right now, attends our meetings. We, all the commissioners get our weekly updates. But when we do the grant scoring, the commissioner is not present during that meeting. Just to to keep it, so it's the board can have their conversations.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and thank you for all of those volunteers as well who make this possible. Okay, well, given the timeline, I would say, we have our third regular meeting of the month. Let's bring this back for final decision then. And then again, I would love to see those top tiers for perspective. So please add those to the packet when we return to make a final decision. Okay? And it's me and you, Commissioner Chuck.
Yep.
Okay? Making the decision.
Mr. Skidema, could you send me
Yep.
the other documents that are being?
Yeah,
requested?
basically, I'll just send you the full
Okay.
scoring spreadsheet. And we talked about that
Yep.
earlier, why we do it the way we do, but I will gladly do that.
And then you said the meeting was recorded too.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll send that out and we can see how the sausage was made.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Paul.
Thanks for your time, Mr. Skidema.
Pleasure.
All right. Next up, we have staff report, Michael Dewan.
Good morning.
Good morning. Michael Dewan, County Public Works Director. I'll be candid, I didn't expect to give a presentation on this report until I saw it on the agenda. It was submitted for informational purposes only, but
Okay.
I'd sure be glad to talk about it, but I may be brief. If you've had a chance to read it, earlier in January, our department was contacted by a rep from the Glen Eden Beach Road District. They wanted to meet on site to discuss some possible repair options for some roadways out there. We're glad to do it. Everything was fine. But when staff returned back, they said, well, when we were out there, we noticed a situation that had some concern to it. At the end of Westler Street pretty much runs off into the shore. It's been eroding over time. There's some concrete barricades at the end of the road. And the erosion had occurred in a way to where these barricades were undermined and several of them were literally just suspended in midair. It's not, I believe the road district had had them installed at some point in time. Not to say that the district created the issue. I think it's just something that developed over time with erosion. But regardless, the streets out there, they are local access roads. It's not roads the county maintains, hence the need for a road district. But after they came back and discussed it with me, I mean, we were kind of concerned that this needs to be addressed. And normally under the statutes, it's something we'd refer to as a road hazard. That's how it's defined in the statutes. And the normal process for abating a road hazard is, well, if someone creates it, say that's the example, the normal process is you notify the responsible party, you order them to abate the hazard, you give them a timeline, et cetera. A lot of times it's taken care of voluntarily. Other times when it's not, the person has a right to a hearing, et cetera. There's quite a process to it. An exception to that is, depending on the situation, the road official under the statutes does have the authority to abate the hazard themselves, depending on the situation, and which is what we did, considering what we saw out there. And again, in the report, it's pretty much just some concrete barricades that needed to be relocated. And it's not something we've been aware of over time, but just suddenly seeing it one day, our concern was, well, when are these going to fall? Well, they may have been that way for years. They may have lasted for years. But when you see something for the first time, you get the impression, well, this could fall tomorrow. And it was our discretion to decide that, well, realistically, we could ask the road district to move them. They don't necessarily have the equipment readily available. It may take some time. And we just didn't want the county or the public at the risk that, well, I don't want someone to get hurt tomorrow because we were waiting for 3 weeks. So we made the decision to go ahead and relocate those barricades. According to the statutes, I did notify a rep from the road district to let them know, this is our determination. We will be on site tomorrow. Please let us know if you have any questions. There wasn't any objection to it. And the crews went out there the next day and dealt with the situation, and all is good as far as I'm concerned right now. However, the reason I submitted the report isn't so much to tell you what we did, but according to the statutes, the process we took was Normally, someone would have the right to a hearing, and I denied them that. Now, no one objected to it. I think it was welcomed. But just to be transparent about it, we did deny someone the right to a hearing. And per the statutes, we are required to submit a report to the governing body. So that's basically what the report is for. Additionally, this is a local access road where we typically don't do work. We do get a lot of requests to do work on local access roads, sometimes in road districts. There's a lot of struggles out there with funding, repair work, et cetera. And I did not want this to be viewed as, well, the county did a favor for this district. Can you do a favor for that district? Right. Not that anyone's has accused us of that, but I just didn't want that perception out there. It wasn't a favor that we did. We saw an issue. We felt there was a risk to the public, so we took care of it.
So, Michael, can you just give a quick definition of local access road? Because I know that's one of the things that people ask. Say this is a county road, and it's not a county road, but it's in the county. And can you just give a little what our responsibility actually is on these local access roads?
I will do the best I can. A local access road. It's defined in statute and it's not defined very well. The best way I would explain it is there's numerous types of roads. There's county roads, city roads, state roads, et cetera. Everyone knows Interstate 5, that's a state highway. Streets right out here, these are city streets. But within the county, there's various types of roads, but most roads, if they're dedicated to the public for public use, they are public roads. However, in the county, for the county to have maintenance responsibilities, 2 actions are required. The road has to be dedicated for public use, but also under a separate action, the county has to accept it into its maintenance system. There's a process for that. It can be done by resolution. But once the county does that, it is now a county road, and that's a legal term. I often say that a county or a road in the county isn't necessarily a county road. And sometimes that's confusing, but it's how I remember it. But county roads are roads that are dedicated to the public that we do maintain. But there are many, many miles of roads in this state that are dedicated to the public, but no one's responsible for maintaining them. Not the counties, not the cities, not the state. And we do refer to those as local access roads. Sometimes they're just called public roads, but just about any street's a public road. So there are miles, hundreds of miles in this state of roads that no one maintains. I'm sorry if I'm going too long. I see you smiling.
Oh, no. It's just one of those things that, I get asked these questions, and I know you have been asked these questions in the past, and it's just good to get that explanation out there that unfortunately these are roads, but that nobody owns basically, or nobody's responsible for.
That's the way I see it. And a lot of times I've heard it described that, well, the adjacent property owner is responsible for maintenance, and that's not necessarily true. I don't believe anyone is responsible for it. Maintenance usually falls upon the adjacent property owner or the road users to do it, but they're not legally obligated.
Yeah.
And in areas where it's in a residential area or a dead-end road, a lot of people pitch in. We have a couple informal road districts in the county, but you have areas where lots of people use this road and no one really wants to commit their funds or their personal money to fix it when the entire population is going to use the road. And I think that's fair too, but there's a lot of situations with local access roads in the county. I've seen more and more of them lately where some of the repair work that's upcoming is significant in cost. We had an issue last year, Johnson Street Bridge. That was a similar situation. I was out in the California Road District earlier or late last year. There's a culvert issue out there that's going to cost a significant amount of money to fix. They don't have the money for that. I mean, there's more than that, more and more of that occurring.
Yeah.
So just please be aware of that as well.
And when those issues come about, who is responsible? Do we pitch in to fix them or what?
It would be up to the county to decide if they wanted to pitch in and fix it. I like to help people, but I would let me retract that word. I would advise the board to consider that thoroughly because I do believe, if you're willing to help this person, you need to be willing to help that person or district or area, whatever. And I just think it's an endless list that we can't fulfill all of them. if the board took that direction, I'd suggest we start prioritizing them, but we'd also have to prioritize them with the projects we have.
All right. Thank you, Michael. You have any
You.
questions for?
Well, just thank you very much, Director Dewan, for doing your due diligence on this. And I believe there's a great map on the Public Works website that shows local accesses versus county roads, and maybe a good thing to take a look at if anybody's ever curious of whether or not their road is maintained by the county. So it's a good resource.
If anyone has further questions about local access flows, please direct them to us and I will do my best to answer them.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have the vacancy on Commissioner's position number 2. Council Yule.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning. So back in January, we had a work session that outlined the process for filling the vacancy. And that process has been moving forward. We have received applications. Those were due last Friday, the 30th. And today is the deadline for both commissioners to submit a list of their selections by 5 p.m. That would be to Ms. Campitelli. You can have up to 10 selections, but that does not mean you have to have 10. You might only have 7. You might only have 8. Again, you can have up to 10, but those are due today. And once those selections are in, we look and see if there's any matches between 2 commissioners, and those individuals would move forward probably at a special meeting or a work session, possibly interviews if the timeline allows. However, just be advised that the vacancy must be filled by appointment within 30 days. That's by statute. Today is the 30th day. That's why the selections are due today. There is no justification for delaying the statute or not following what the law outlines for a vacancy appointment.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller.
Thank you. Yes. Well, we did not have any board motion on any formal process. I think you are both aware that I have submitted numerous times framework outlining the process that I recommend. And I think I've done that for a very deliberate reason to make sure that it is a fair and transparent process. One of the things that has come to light already is that these applications are not consistent. For example, some have submitted resumes, some have not. I certainly want to see consistent applications before I'm making any kinds of decisions. And furthermore, in regard to the process, no, we need to have a process that is fair and equitable, and certainly so the community can participate. I just want you to be aware that I will not be providing 10 applications at the end of the day today. That is not something that we agreed to do. Commissioner Chuck, you and I can decide on a process that suits us, but certainly the way it was done last time, and I can see that the suggestion is similar now that I submit 10 applications and the staff do the matching. I just disagree with this. I think the model that I am using is the Clackamas County process. That's available online. Folks can take a look at that. And Commissioner Chuck and I can sit down together with our top choices and whittle it down to those final candidates. So again, I think that's something that we need to do. And let's make sure nobody gets left behind. Let's make sure everybody's processes are the same. I'm suspecting we have some individuals today who will make some comments on these types of things, that they want to be sure that they're treated fairly. And so my recommendation is that we have a shared agreement, Commissioner Chuck and I, about the next steps on this process, and that it is board directed.
Okay, it was my assumption that we directed staff at our early January meeting to come up with the process, and we moved on with that. And then we had the work session a week or so later, and that we would be using the same process that we did before, which is where we get the applications, you and I review them, and then we submit our choices. And then the staff looks for matches.
Okay.
And I'm fine with that.
I
I'm fine with
appreciate-
that.
I
And-
appreciate that, yeah.
And Council Yule, did you have another?
Only to add, so on the application, it actually, for employment history, work experience, it allows you to attach additional pages if necessary. It has that on the directions of the application. Of course, everybody's had different work experiences. I think we can both agree that there's probably some people on that have applied that have had significantly more work experience. So of course, they're going to be able to attach different documents or maybe even more numerous documents. But it does have that as directions on there that you can attach additional work information, which was done. That's been consistent throughout all the applications. I'd just like to highlight again that the vacancy must be filled by an appointment within 30 days. Today is the 30th day deadline. And I'll let you two decide on if you're moving forward with the process based on the work session, which everybody was in agreement at that time.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, not everybody was in agreement with that at that time. Pardon me, Commissioner Chuck. Assumptions are not board direction. So next steps here, you want to proceed? I've definitely got
Do you have
two
a, do you have a
different
motion?
memos
Do you have
that
a
I
motion on a
submitted.
process?
What's that?
Do you have a motion on a process, Commissioner Miller?
Yeah, I do. We'll make some motions. Stand by. Okay. Consistent with the information that I've submitted to you on 3 different occasions. It's not in the
Before you
meeting
say that,
packet.
did you directly send those to me?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, right here to Commissioner Chuck and County Council. The first request I made was on the 15th of January to have the regular 21st meeting. And then I would like to ask Commissioner Chuck in consideration of that, were you supportive or did you?
You have a motion, you have a
cancel the
motion to
regular-
bring forward because
Commissioner
you,
Chuck, did you cancel the regular 21st Commissioners meeting?
I did not. And I will just say that you have just said that you directly emailed me and now you're asking me to make a decision on something. So I don't feel comfortable going forward with that motion.
Okay, so
So
Commissioner Chuck,
we will need to move forward because I do not want to get into some territory that I don't want to get into. So I was directly emailed and now you're asking me to make a decision on something. So I can't go forward with this. So right now I'm just saying we need to move on to the next subject.
okay,
And you've already stated that you will not be submitting your names. And so we will be going forward. I will be submitting my names at the end of the day.
okay, Commissioner Chuck, what I would move, okay, is that on the 11th, together, we develop questions.
Commissioner Miller, you submitted that to me directly in an email. So I do not feel comfortable going forward speaking about it. Okay. So
Well,
we need to move on to our next subject on the agenda.
On the agenda. We're not done with the commissioner vacancy process.
The motion that you want to bring forward to is basically sent to me in a private email between you and I, and that would be we cannot be.
What I'm
deliberating that.
requesting of you is that we make the decision in the commissioners meeting together. That is what I have requested.
We have the ORS statute that says we need to fill this after 30 days. So I will be submitting my 10 names at the end of the day. And then we will go on from there. Thank you.
Okay.
Council?
Just
I'm not.
highlight, you
agreeing
do not
to
have
that
to submit a
motion.
total of 10. If you feel like maybe only 8 are qualified, that's fine. No, it's up to you how many names you submit.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
We
So-
need to establish a meeting in which we'll go over our recommended, top picks. So I think we need to establish the date that we're going to do that.
Today was the date, Commissioner Miller.
That was not agreed upon, Commissioner Chuck.
That was the process we agreed on.
We need a
meeting.
date in which the board gathers to review these applications and our top picks together. That is the motion that I am trying to establish with you. Are you going to participate in that?
What I'm going to participate in is what we agreed upon at the earlier meeting in January.
But we did not agree to anything.
We directed staff.
We did not.
Yes. So I'm not going to go on forward. I will be submitting my names at the end of the day, and then we will set up, if you choose to, then we will go forward with that. And then if not, we will make another decision.
So you won't make a motion to set a date to review applicants.
I'm not going to make a motion to do that. No.
Okay.
So we will go on to commissioner reports. So I submitted a report. I attended the AOC Board of Directors and Legislative Committee meeting and Governance and Revenue and Economic Development Steering Committee on the 12th of January, and as well as the Natural Resources Committee. At the Government Revenue Economic Development Steering Committee, I learned that the transit lodging bill reform bill would be submitted more than likely to the Senate early this month. And that would basically change the percentages that would go to the entities. Right now, it is 70% to the state, 30% to the entities, and that would be changed to 60% to the entities that gather these taxes and 40% to the state. That would be a good thing to happen for our local taxing districts and allow them to do more infrastructure, which the uses for those monies will also be greatly broadened. The ability of how and where these funds can be used will benefit greatly, and especially where we live. Economic development, omnibus bill is going to be put in. It creates more opportunity for business development and job creation. Natural resources, there's going to be a bill on farm stands, which will allow some of our smaller farms here to do things such as agritourism and other farm-related uses. Currently, Lincoln County is ranked 36 in agriculture in the state, so we can only get better on that. The Legislative Committee received updates from all steering committees, and we voted to support legislation as proposed, which are some of those I just mentioned. AOC Board, there's a request for proposal to look at county funding on mandated services. Currently, the county has quite a few statutorily mandated services that the state and federal government are decreasing their amount of money that they wish to be put into those. And so we need to find a way to look at how better to address these unfunded mandates. On the 14th, I accompanied AOC staff and Benton County Commissioner. I met in person with state senators and representatives from the west, from the coast, the valley, and actually Eastern Oregon and the Metro to educate and garner support for the TLT legislation. We received mostly good feedback for us and support. Made good progress with some on the fence and some that might not have been supportive. And I also personally met with Senator Anderson and Gomberg in the offices to update on county issues and get their input. It was good use of the day, and we're looking forward to watching this TLT legislation make it through the legislature. Thank you. And next, we'll move on to.
Thank you, Walter. Good job.
Thank you. Move on to public comment. First, we have Cal Blake. Please come up to the microphone, state your name. Okay, thank you, Cal. Debbie Kozardu.
Thank you for allowing us to speak. Good morning.
Morning.
It's like Groundhog Day, listening to Casey. He keeps saying every meeting, all the time, I'm not in the loop. We all know it's his choice to not be in the loop. It's his choice to not do the job he was elected to do. As an example, we heard this morning when he said he's not in the loop. The Lincoln County Community Economic Development meetings are mostly virtual. My advice to him is to focus on learning the job so he can do the job instead of being uncooperative. Claire died defending policies she had learned from her mentors, policies that had been developed peacefully with other commissioners that she had worked with over 20 years. Claire died defending who she was, who she had the right to be. Her last words to me were, I cannot lose. She said it 3 times, I cannot lose. I told her, you did not lose. You did not lose. and she did not lose. Claire has inspired thousands to have courage and strength to be who they are. She inspired thousands of us to be their allies. She's inspired thousands of us to rise and to fight for a peaceful and fair due process in governing. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Sweet dreams, Claire.
Next, we have Rio Davidson. Please state your name for the record. Thank you, Rio.
Yeah, Rio Davidson, longtime member and activist here in Lincoln County. I come to give the county a message of overwhelming support from the Lincoln County voters for Casey Miller. We trust Casey to represent us in a clear and transparent way. Seems that it is time that we move past the division. That said, the voters I represent demand that Casey Miller is allowed back to work in the county offices. We did not spend the time and energy to get him elected to be sidelined by divisive politics. I've been paying attention to the BOC meetings. I come away alarmed by County Council Kristen Ewell's behavior. She regularly recommends specific actions not based on law, but based on, I quote, "That's how it's always been done." Transparency and caution are two traits I greatly appreciate in an elected official. On January 4th, Commissioner's work session, Commissioner Miller proposed a more transparent process for filling the vacant commissioner seat and was shut down again by Council Ewell. Seems that the process needs to be as transparent as possible to rebuild public trust with the BOC. After today's meeting, seeing how Walter Chuck shut down any ideas or, time to talk with Casey to create a collaborative approach to what's going on, it's really shocking to see. And I'm really disappointed in you. We feel that we not only need to honor Casey Miller's ideas, but we need to honor Casey the respect he deserves. He's an honest, hardworking person who has put in a lot of time here in Lincoln County. I've worked with him for years in his formal format at the county. After reading and watching some of the BOC meetings, I did not share any of the concerns that have come up with members of the county. In fact, I really appreciate Casey Miller's thoughtful communications regarding bringing more clarity and working to the BOC. We are concerned that County Council Kristen Ewell seems to be trying to fill in as an elected official. Unfortunately, that's not the case. We ask that she leave the county decisions to the elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Barbara Davis.
Barbara Davis, Wallport, Oregon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I am not a lawyer. I'm a nurse, but thanks to my mother and the good sisters at St. Jane Francis, I learned how to read. And in my reading, I've gone to Oregon.gov, and this is what I learned: that the Oregon Revised Statutes, or ORS, are formal, enacted state laws. While past practice binds parties in contractual gaps, it cannot override established Oregon law, as ORS overrides all local, private, or past practices. Oregon Revised Statutes is the codification of Oregon state laws. It is the higher authority. Past practice can only interpret, not violate the law or explicit contract terms. This is from Oregon.gov. Reading further, I found the Oregon Revised Statute, or ORS 203.240. One of the things it states is a board of county commissioners shall appoint a chairperson from among their number who shall serve until the first Monday in January next following appointment. If two members of the board cannot agree on the appointment of a chairperson, the member of the board who is longest in length of service shall act as chairperson. So my question is, why is Casey at this time not acting as the chair? Why is the county council the legal advisor to the commissioners strangely silent on this? I don't request, Chair Miller, Vice Chair Chuck. I demand that the Board of Commissioners and County Council obey the law, the Oregon state law, in this case, ORS 203.240, making Commissioner Miller the acting chair of the Board of Commissioners. Any response? Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. Next, we have Jerry Marsh.
Hi, as you said, I'm Jerry Marsh. Mine's going to be a little more personal, just about me. But I live down South Bay Road outside of Toledo. I've had a fifth wheel and anywhere from 3 to 5 cars parked down outside my house, just down the road slightly, right along the side of the road. And I never knew how to complain, who to complain to about this that has just arrived and is building on the side of the road. So I started with the planning department, and it said, if you want this, press 1. If you want this, press 2. And it said 4 for code enforcement. Oh, okay. So I push 4, and it's a man's voice saying, you've reached Ano Housing, something similar to that, leaving me a message. So I did, and a couple weeks later I did again. And a couple times he's actually picked up and talked to me and seems quite helpful on the phone. Nothing gets done, but at least he sounds like he's helpful. But he's never called me. He's never emailed me. The only times I've spoken to him, which I believe are twice, are when I've called him, which has been in this nearly 3 months. It's probably 6 times. Getting nowhere with him, I thought, well, the fifth wheel has dug a trench across South Bay Road and run an extension cord there. The road department might be interested. So I called the main number and I called Clint Blazer's number. Not sure his role there, but I called them both, left messages, waited a week and a half, heard nothing. So I called them both, left messages again, never heard back from them. So I thought, well, maybe this is something for the sheriff. So I called the sheriff department, and I think that's, apparently I've learned, that's where I should have started. A deputy came by, he tagged, because of their car collection, and they did have one a couple miles down the road that had broken down there. So he tagged it, which was great, but all they did was towed it over to where they're massing this, and it's been there, and they pulled the sticker off the window. Since then, I was down the hillside from them because I know the neighbor who lives down below, and it really smells like a really bad porta potty. Not that there's such a thing as a good porta potty, but you know there is a difference. When you walk into a porta potty that really stinks, that's what it was. So I talked to them about, you know what, something's up with your septic. And this is just 2 days ago. They said it wasn't their septic, that it's the fifth wheel that's along the side of the road, which hasn't moved in nearly 3 months. So something's going on with the waste, and they feel it's being just flushed down the hillside. Haven't received a single call or email from the road. I don't hear back from Ono ever. I have talked to him.
Your 3 minutes just about up. Go ahead, Mr. Marsh.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I emailed you guys last week, and all of a sudden, Vanessa from County Planning reached out to me. Ono reached out to me. Michael Dewan reached out to me, and Doug Holbrook. The very next day, coincidentally, 4 people I've never heard from. One email to you guys. So thank you for existing. Because of that, they're at least talking.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerry. Have a good day.
Appreciate it.
There's one more online comment. And who was that person? Okay, thank you. That ends public comment. I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 10:59. Thank you.